So you created your ads, you've set them live, and now it's time to look at the data and report on their performance. Now, what matters to me is not the actual numbers, because the actual data is very objective, right? The data doesn't lie. But what actually matters is the interpretation of the data and the analysis of the results that we can turn into actionable next steps for creative iteration. And that's what makes a great creative strategist, is knowing how to read the data and formulate a hypothesis of what to do next. So you have your hard KPIs, your CPA, your ROAS, your contribution margin, all that's great stuff and super important for your business. But these are the metrics you should focus on for creative iteration and optimization. The goal really is to create a strong strategy for measuring creative effectiveness by implementing this measurable framework. So let's talk about these metrics for a second. Thumbnail retention. This metric actually doesn't exist in your Facebook Ads Manager. I use motion for this, and I'll talk about motion in a second. But basically, the formula is 1 second view divided by impressions. So this matters because it's measuring how many people from the people that got served your ad actually stopped and watched that first second. So make sure this is always above 90%, because if less than 90% of the people that are being served your ad are not even stopping to watch the first second, go back to your hook, analyze frame by frame of that first second, and make sure it's super engaging. Then you have your thumb stop ratio, which is 3 second views divided by impressions. So this is measuring out of all the people that got served your ad, how many stopped and watched the full first 3 seconds of the video. That should always be above 30%. If it's less than 30%, go back to your hook, analyze frame by frame, try a new visual, do something to make it more engaging. So these two metrics are trying to answer the question, did your ad make them stop scrolling? Because if they didn't stop scrolling, then they're not going to watch, they're not going to click, and they're not going to buy. So the other metrics that are super important is the hold rate. Hold rate is how many people that got served your ads watched through the through play mark. And that should be above 25%. Average watch time. This one is super important because at the end of the day, Instagram, Facebook will reward you for keeping people in the app for longer. So if your ads have a high average watch time, you're gonna get better placements and lower costs, because that's improving the user experience in the app. And I think average watch time has a really good correlation with performance results as well. And then the waterfall rate. So this is when you analyze the drop-offs on your video, and this is super helpful to help you understand which steps of the video people are dropping off, so you can go back to that frame and improve that creative. And then CTR, CVR, CPA, and ROAS. So this is basically answering the question of, did it generate interest? Did it make them want to buy after watching the ad? So first and most important step for effective creative reporting is getting your ad naming conventions right. If you're a true hardcore media buyer, you're not thinking about these things. You're not thinking about adding these things in your ad naming convention, but you really should. So here's what I look for when I'm doing creative analysis and creative audits. So you want to have in your ad naming convention, producer, who did the ad? Was it you? Was it him? Was it an agency? Was it a content creator? You need to be able to know where your best ads are coming from, so make sure that's there. Date, obviously. File name, super important. Let's say you found a winning ad that you want to iterate. I don't know where to find it because the file name's not there. Concept stage. Is it a net new or is it an iteration? Ad type and ad formula. So if it's a video, an image, a carousel, and which ad type is it, or which formula are you testing? Is it a listicle? Is it a before and after? Is it a skit, etc.? And then concept ID and hook name. We always give concepts a name. For example, concept 1, hook A, concept 2, hook B. This is very important because later you want to be able to compare which ones performed better. So, reporting. When it comes to creative reporting, Motion is hands down, in my opinion, the best tool for creative analytics. And there are 4 types of reports that I love to help understand creative performance. So the first one is your top creative reports. They give you this really nice pivot table with conditional formatting, which helps you understand what your benchmarks are for your best creatives. And it also helps you visually understand, like, oh, this ad here has a really strong scroll stopping rate, right? So what can I do? I can take the hook from this video and add it to the video that has a really strong CTR and higher average watch time to help improve that hook rate. So it just helps you visually understand how you can start iterating. The other creative reports that I really like is thumb stop versus conversion rates. So if you have a low thumb stop but a high conversion rate, focus on improving the hook to help you with your costs. The other one, this is the one I talked about before, it's the drop-off rate, so it helps you understand where users are dropping off from, and that's your top performance creatives. It's just a beautiful way to be able to visually see everything so organized, which is not the case in ads managers. Okay, so you know how to set up reporting, you know what metrics to focus on. Now let's talk about how to iterate. This is the most important piece of the puzzle. It's what will make your ad account successful or not. So why are iterations so important? Because spend does not equal reach. You can scale your budgets as much as you want, but it doesn't mean you're going to reach more people. It just means you're going to saturate your core audiences. Because like I said before, if an ad is similar, Facebook knows and it's going to keep serving that ad to the same audience. So if you have a winner that is scaling and it's starting to show creative fatigue, instead of pausing that ad, add new ads in that ad set that has high spend and shows fatigue, because that will help you squeeze as much profitability as you can out of that audience that's performing. And then you start creating new concepts with new messaging to help you unlock new audiences. So creating iterations of your winning ads will help you beat creative fatigue and squeeze as much as you can out of the audiences that are working. So this is what your iteration strategy should look like. You should always be looking in your ad accounts to figure out how you can refresh your creatives that are resonating. So your ads that are resonating, they're hitting with your core audience. You iterate to make sure you can have more creatives to maximize that audience. But you also want to be deploying differentiated creatives, creatives that will help you unlock a new audience. And make sure you have a consistent stream of iterations, because creative fatigue is inevitable. So here's a quick cheat sheet. So these are not all the ways to iterate based on each metric, but it's a helpful little summary. So if your thumb stop is low, try a new visual, try new copy, try new audio, try a new thumbnail. If your hold rate is low, reorder the clips, add a new shot after the first 3 seconds, make the ad shorter, or change the editing style. That really helps. If you have low CTR, add scarcity, urgency, exclusivity messaging. Agitate the pain points a little bit more. Add more social proof, or try a new call to action. And if you have low conversion rates, check for congruency. Oftentimes, if you're focusing too much on testing new creative concepts, you might lose that congruency between your ads and the landing page, and that's so important. So if the ad has great metrics overall, but it's just not converting very well, it could mean that it's just not congruent with the landing page. In that case, make a custom landing page specifically for that ad. And then check where your spend is going. Break it down by age and gender, and maybe recreate your top performing ad with new talent that matches that age and gender. So let's say you have an ad that's showing a younger content creator, but most of your spend is going towards an older female audience. Take that ad and recreate it with an older content creator or actor to start resonating better with that audience. And adjust the language and pacing to match. So if you're targeting an older audience, make sure that your ad is fit for an older audience. So on Reels specifically, the creative element that has the highest impact on performance is your hook. So like I said, your hook acts as your targeting. It quickly filters through the audience, and if they're stopping the scroll and engaging, that ad is going to start being served to a similar audience. So by testing new hooks, it can help you unlock new audiences, and your hook is always the combination of your what's why message with a scroll stopping visual. So here are other ways to iterate. If you have an ad that's working, make shorter or longer versions. This will help you get served in different placements and understand if the audience needs more or less information to convert. Experiment with audio. Change the music, add sound effects, change the voiceovers, use the text-to-speech robot voice, and have fun with audio. It's surprising what effect it has on creative performance just by changing the voiceover from male to female, or just a different sounding voiceover can really make a difference. Other ways to iterate. Investigate your video drop-offs, find out where the biggest drop-off is, and experiment with changing the sequence of the clips. And if you have ads with winning hooks, try stacking them and combining them into the same ad. Then try the same concept with different talent. If you identify an ad that's working, take that script and recreate it with different creators to appeal to different personas. And last but not least, the most important step, you need to have a really solid creative testing tracker. This is an example of a super simple one. You can track so much more, but this is just to help illustrate of how you should be creating your hypotheses, keeping record of your testing and your results, so you can start understanding what creative elements work and how they impact performance.